Hey, Jamsters. Thanks again for pressing play and welcome once again to another edition of the Suns Jam Session Podcast, brought to you by the BLEAV Network, or actually on the BLEAV Network, brought to you by FanDuel. Fun show that we have ahead of you. We have a couple more of these shows before we get into our regularly scheduled post-game podcasts, and we're wrapping up our division previews. So tonight we're going to be doing the Southwest, going over and unders. Matthew and I are going to be kind of predicting where we think that these teams are going to land. And then Saturday night, we'll go ahead and we'll do the one that I know that all of you as Phoenix Suns fans have been waiting for, and that is the Pacific Division. And where do we think this team is going to end? We'll do the jammies on Monday, and then boom, Wednesday, it is time for Suns basketball, baby. So make sure you subscribe, you rate, review. And if you're one of those people, I went on Reddit earlier today, and I just asked, because I've had the kind of this lingering question as to why, we've been stuck at like 3,800 views on YouTube, or 3,800 subscribers on YouTube for quite some time now. And I just wonder what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right. And just if you're one of those people who commented on that Reddit thread under the Our Suns subreddit, thank you for doing so, man. It was really good feedback for Matthew and I to hear, and some suggestions on how to tighten up the show, maybe in some capacities, but obviously never give up on who and what we are. So appreciate all you guys for doing that. Let's go ahead and drop the show intro and get ready to start division previewing, the preview of the division Southwest.
Hey, you're listening to the Suns Jam Session Podcast, shooting the shit about the Suns since 2019.
Post intro pop.
Oh, nice. Wasn't ready for it.
It's a new addition to the show. So I'm doing the little Coors Banquet beers with like their 1938 bottle, 1936 stubby bottle. But these are fantastic and delicious. And so cheers, Matthew. How you doing on this beautiful Thursday afternoon, evening, whatever day?
Oh, doing great. But, those beers are familiar, right? What were we watching when we started?
Karate Kid.
Yep. Cobra Kai, remember?
Cobra Kai,
yeah. And then ever since then, I feel like we've been drinking those more and more.
Dude, so, I love them. They're delicious. I'm like, Coors Light? Give me a Coors Banquet beer, bro. But yeah, time to talk about the Southwest Division. But before we get into that, I do want to get into just a touch of Phoenix Suns news.
And now, ladies and Jamsters, news about the Phoenix Suns.
Phoenix Suns news, Starting Five debuted today, which is the Netflix series that obviously is going to remind us of everything that was wrong about last season, or it probably won't be that dramatic, but it will definitely stir up some emotions internally as we as a fan base are preparing to, just move on, right? And obviously Starting Five, Netflix series, 5 players are followed by Netflix, and Kevin Durant was one of them. Are you going to watch it, Matthew?
No, I'm not going to watch it. I didn't watch the first season, so I'm watching highlights on Twitter. I think all I want to see is Kevin Durant. If there's some juicy stuff on there, I might check in. But right now, I'm kind of just staying away from it because I don't want to relive last season, right? We're like David Jokovic right here in the chat says, just finished a fantasy draft. Bam, right into Suns Jam. We're back, baby. Like, let's focus on this season. I'll watch it later, maybe through the mid-season or through All-Star break. And if the Suns are doing good, I'll go back and watch it because I just don't want to see anything about Kevin Durant right now, dude. I'm ready to move on.
I'm already an episode and a half into it because I'm a sicko.
Is it pretty good, though?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I wrote a whole article for brightsideofthesun.com talking about how this is one of those things that's going to rehash some emotions within us, knowing that no matter what, that these aren't true documentaries. These are puff PR pieces that Kevin Durant and his team are not going to sign off on anything, any quote that he says unless he reviews it, right? It's not a true documentary in that sense. But I also am finding the catharticism in it. That in order, it's like Forrest Gump says, is like, if you want to put the past behind you or something, like you have to kind of just make peace with what it is and what it was. And that's not to say that you and I haven't, by doing this podcast throughout the summer, by living through the post-game pods time and again as they were occurring in real time last year. But I think that now that we have distance from that season, obviously the fact that it ended on April 13th and I think it's 7 or 8 episodes. We're not going to see a ton of the Suns because they don't go all the way into the playoffs like Tyrese Halliburton does and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jaylen Brown. Like, we don't even make the playoffs. So it's going to be a muted version, but it's just going to be kind of, it's a period of time that's part of our fandom. And it's part of this whole process of being a fan is accepting what has happened and then having the ability, as you mentioned, Matthew, to kind of put it compartmentalized and carry the fuck on with your life.
True. And, if I am on Twitter a little bit looking at Kevin Durant, his responses to the whole thing, to the whole documentary. Of course, a lot of fans are out there is it rage baiting him online, just trying to get him to go after him. And he's been doing it all day. Like, he's just trying to see everybody's take.
He's
I'm not
loving it.
I'm done. He is, but it's just sad to me, man. Even like the contradicting interviews he had on there where he's just talking about, it's about ring chasing, right? They're going to trade you if you're not ring chasing. It's like, I don't know what else this is for. I mean, obviously you might not feel fulfilled if you win a ring, but that's the purpose of playing. So I don't know. I just don't want to get into it.
Yeah, completely understandable. And you know what? There's a whole segment of the Suns fan base who's right there with you. They want to move on to the next season. There is a semblance of excitement around this team. There's definitely a semblance of intrigue about this team. But in order to kind of understand where the Phoenix Suns are going to fall and define our expectations, we need to continue to take a look at the rest of the NBA. We've already done all of the Eastern Conference. We've already done the Northwest Division, taking a look at the previews of their teams and where they stand currently. And now we're going to, on this show, talk about the Southwest Division and give everybody who's a listener who might have enjoyed not watching basketball and lived their life and went out during the summertime, because maybe you don't live in Arizona, even though it was a mild summer here in Arizona. And now you're coming back to basketball. You know that the opening tip is less than a week away, and you don't know who's where and what to expect. That's what Matthew and I are doing right here on this podcast. So the Southwest Division has the Dallas Mavericks, the Memphis Grizzlies, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Houston Rockets, and the San Antonio Spurs. So what Matthew and I are going to do is we're going to talk about the teams, share the transactions that occurred, and then I'll go ahead and I'll pull up the big board right here. And Matthew and I are actually going to try to predict where we believe they're going to finish at the end of the season, knowing that when we do our preseason jammies on Monday's show, that's when we'll have one last look at this and make any changes that we might want to make. But with all of that being said, Matthew, I'll ask you one question. You know what? I can do this.
Matthew, I've got to ask.
Matthew, I've got to ask, where do you want to start? Dallas, Houston, Memphis, New Orleans, San Antonio? Where should we go?
Oh my God, I knew you were going to ask me. Let's do Memphis. I've been waiting to talk about them. Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. All right, so I'm pulling up the graphic for those of you who are listening at home. We do have some graphics that I spend probably too much time trying to design and whatnot, breaking down exactly what each team has done. But the Memphis Grizzlies are a team that finished 8th last year in the Western Conference. They were 48-34. They have a salary cap this year of $172 million. What did they do? Well, they added in free agency. They added Ty Jerome from the Cleveland Cavaliers, Jock Landale from the Houston Rockets, so a pair of former Suns. They added via trade Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, and then just from the Orlando Magic, that's the trade that sent out Desmond Bane. And then they added Justina Jessup, who I have no idea who that is. They lost in free agency Luke Kennard, who's now with the Atlanta Hawks. They also lost Marvin Bagley III, who is with the Washington Wizards. And via trade, they lost Jay Huff, who is now with the Indiana Pacers, and Cole Anthony, who they acquired from the Orlando Magic along with Desmond Bane, along with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope for Desmond Bane. He's now with the Milwaukee Bucks. You take a look at their draft. They had 3 second-round picks, and they took Javon Small, Will Richard, and Jamani Mashak. And with the 11th overall pick, a pick after the Phoenix Suns, mind you, they took a guy who I was really excited about, Cedric Coward, who's going to be somebody who might get some play with them. Their projected starting 5, John Morant, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope Jr., Jalen Wells, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Zach Edey. Obviously, the challenge here is the fact that Zach Edey is hurt and might be out for the first 2 months of the season, so they're going to have to rely on a depleted front court depth. Jock Landale most likely will get their start. So, Matthew, you said that you wanted to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies. Talk to me about the Memphis Grizzlies.
Well, last year I was really high on them. They were my team to kind of make the Western Conference Finals. It'd be a surprise team. They fought for the first 3/4 of the season. They were competitive, and when the West became a little bit more competitive towards the last part of the season, it was impossible for them to actually pull off any kind of win streaks. They were win one, lose one, win one, lose one. Then in the playoffs, really struggled. Coming to the season, like you said, Zach Edey's out. Jaren Jackson Jr. already has an injury. He's injury prone. I hate doing this because I don't want to talk about injuries. I just want to see what's on paper. But this team obviously won't. That starting lineup you threw out there is not going to be the starting lineup, right? So having Jaren Jackson Jr. out, which I think is their best player now. Ja Morant already has an injury. He might play the first game, might not. Who knows?
Yeah.
But all that stuff up in the air in a West right now that is very hard to compete in. It's going to be difficult for them. I just think that it's a step back. I'm not saying it's a blow it up season for the Memphis Grizzlies, but it is a team right now that has a lot to offer other teams. And if they don't like how things are going, I like Coward, but I really love Desmond Bane. I think you and I might differ a little bit. I think Desmond Bane over in Orlando can be an all-star. I think he really held that team together. He offers a lot offensively, defensively. It's going to be tricky to replace that guy. Caldwell Pope, I don't know, just can't do it. So I actually don't think this team's going to make the playoffs this year. I don't.
Really?
I have them at 11 this year. I think it's going to be a shit year for them.
Wow. Well, so I'll start by saying this. So let me, pop the graphic in there. So we can go ahead and put it down in stone that we know we're going to change. A lot of things that you said there and a lot of things that I agree with. So one, again, this team, injury prone. That's what they have been, and it's what they continue to be. And that's a challenging place because they have a lot of talent. 244 games. That's how many games Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant have played together. And they're 139 and 105. That's a 57% winning percentage. That's good. And in the regular season, it's 129 and 89. So they're almost 60% of the time they win games. But they are never on the court together because one's injured, both's injured. And you add to the fact that Zach Edey is going to be out with foot problems for a man who's massive. Not a good sign. Cedric Howard, high-end talent, but a rookie. And a rookie who didn't play much last year with Washington State after being injured. He's an upside pick, but not somebody who you want to rely on for contributions. That's a challenge for Memphis. So when you kind of take this all into account, knowing, as you mentioned, that this is a tough conference. The Western Conference is not a cakewalk for anybody. And you take a look, for example, last season, right? The standings for last season, if you wanted to make the play-in, right? The Suns missed the play-in by 3 games. You have to win almost 40 games. The Dallas Mavericks got in with 39 wins and 43 losses. With all the injuries stacked up against Memphis, I'm right there with you. I'm somebody who just does not have faith in who this team is and what they can do, and the fact that they can stay healthy, combined with, although I'm not nearly as high on Desmond Bane as you are relative to him to potentially be an all-star with Orlando, he was the glue to this team. He was a talented player, and with him gone, I think that this is a team that come the trade deadline will be sellers on the market, and I have them slotted in at 12, Matthew. You have them at 11. I'm going to put them in at 12.
Yeah. Your reaction, I thought maybe you had them in the playoffs, but
no.
Wins, though, I have them down still for – I think they're going to be competitive in a way to where they can almost finish 500. I just think this year there's too much talent, I think, at the bottom of the West last year, like leaking into this year to where I have other teams leaping them this year. So I still have them at 42 wins about. So I think they will be competitive. They're not going to be an easy out for any team. Jaw's just not the same guy, but the team is still defensively sound there, but they're still long. They're still going to be a juggernaut in a way defensively behind Jaren Jackson Jr. I'm out. 2 seasons ago, I thought they were the team to win the championship. Yeah. I just think they might have just missed it, and they're just like the Phoenix Suns. They had their chance. Now it's over. It can end that quickly a lot for especially guys like Ja Morant.
So by that logic, 42 wins, but the 11th seed, whereas last year the 11th seed, which was the Suns, had 36 wins. So do you think there's regression to the mean, saying that instead of a lot of high-end teams, because the West is going to be beaten up on the West a lot, that there's going to be an accrual, kind of an offset, and you're going to see more teams kind of in the middle? Or how does that work, mathematically speaking?
Well, I mean, obviously they're going to play the East 2 games every year, these Western teams. And I think the East got significantly easier to play.
Yeah, but they got all-star Desmond Bain there now, bro. You got to watch out.
Yeah, but that's one of the top 3 teams or top 4
fair.
teams. But I think teams like Portland, I'll talk about it later, but there's just other teams where it's going to keep it competitive. But when I look at like my number 6 seed through 10, 11, even 12th seed, I think for me it's going to separate them by 4 games.
Wow.
Coming up this season. So it was competitive last year, right? It was crazy. Between the 4th seed and the 10th seed, it was right there. So I think it's gonna be the same thing, but the percentage of wins definitely goes a little bit higher this year for the West.
Yeah, to your point, the 3rd seed was the Lakers with 50 wins. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seed was Memphis with 48. So from 3 to 8, it was separated by 2 games. So it's definitely plausible. Again, I just think that they're going to become sellers. I honestly believe that. They have a lot of question marks. They have a lot of health issues. And I think that this could be a year and an opportunity for them where they take a look internally and they go, you know what? It's not working. It hasn't worked. We've wanted it to work for multiple reasons. Obviously, it's time to kind of recoup our losses. But this is also a team that has all their draft capital. They have a contingent pick that the Suns are involved in, but they got their first round pick in 2027, 2028, 2029 with some swaps, 2031, 2032. So we'll see what they end up doing. I don't know. I don't know. I have no faith in Memphis.
Do you want to still build around Ja? Ja Morant to me seems like a guy you can just throw at Washington. He'd be a perfect Washington Wizards player. I kind of fallen off.
He's almost Trae Young of the Western Conference. High upside talent, but just can't really get it done. And it's hard to do, especially considering how injury prone he is because of the type of basketball that he plays. It's not sustainable. Yeah. So do they cash in their chips or not? We shall see. All right. Well, let's switch gears. I'm gonna talk about a team that a lot of people are really intrigued by, is the best way to say it, because ultimately we don't know the upside of the San Antonio Spurs and who they can become and what they are, because ultimately injuries derailed their season last year. Injuries potentially could derail their season this year because of the simple fact that, De'Aaron Fox is already kind of injured. A lot of youth on this team, a lot of opportunity for Victor Wembanyama to take the next step. It's a team that, right now, if you were to go on to FanDuel, they're plus 3,000 to win the Western Conference, which has them 8th overall in the Western Conference. But what did they do? Well, they added Luke Cornett, which is a solid veteran add from the Boston Celtics via free agency. They added Lindy Waters, the 3rd from Detroit. They added Kelly Olynyk, another big from the Washington Wizards in a trade that they gave up Blake Wesley and Malachi Branham. They lost Chris Paul. They lost Sheshu Mamu Eksheveli. Oh, gosh. I used to be so good at saying his name last year when I thought he was going to be a son. Mamu Shavili, him. But what they really did to make a splash was their draft. They had the 2nd overall pick by the miracle of God. They got Dylan Harper from Maryland. They got Carter Bryant from the University of Arizona with this, the 2nd and 14th overall picks respectively. De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, Victor Wembanyama, a Jet being landed at Matthews House. 13th overall, the 13th overall seed is where they landed last year. When I take a look at the San Antonio Spurs, it's one of those teams that I have a challenge with, Matthew, because they haven't done it yet, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to do it. Victor Wembanyama is now 7 feet 7 inches tall. Not officially,
so
but
growing.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, I mean, what do you see from the San Antonio Spurs?
Well, I'll stick with the 8th spot. I think they have a chance to make the playoffs this year. De'Aaron Fox, to me, I think I'm on my own little island over here, kind of just going into the season. I was like, I don't feel like he's going to be on the team by trade deadline. I think Dylan Harper, not as good as Cooper Flagg, but he could be just as good as a rookie going on a team, handling a lot of responsibility and racking up the wins. I mean, nothing too crazy, maybe 44 wins this year, but him and Victor, if Victor can stay healthy, that's a fun team to watch. It's obviously going to be the number 1 watch when it comes to the league pass for me, not just because of Victor, but the other guys too. Carter Bryant, guys I want to see coming off the bench, like Luke Cornett, like a perfect big playing next to Victor Wembanyama. So The Spurs right now are a team, obviously in the future, have a lot of high hopes. I think they make the leap this year and finally make the playoffs, and I don't think it's going to come at the hands of De'Aaron Fox. I think Fox is a great player, right? I just don't think he fits his team. To me, he's like the odd man out. Injury or not, I didn't think he was going to last. And I think people can say, well, he can play next to Dylan Harper. I just think this is going to be Harper's team, like by game 40 of this year.
With Harper, with Stephon Castle, they definitely have the youth movement going on, but it's good to have a De'Aaron Fox for the next couple seasons as those guys grow into what they're going to be. Because, I conversely don't think that Dylan Harper is going to have nearly that big of an impact because he's a rookie, because he has so much learning to do. But when you have somebody like Victor Wembanyama on your team, you have defense. And you combine that with the fact that this is an unbelievably youthful team. And you think of, some of the reasons why, if you're a Phoenix Suns fan, you're excited or intrigued about this upcoming season. It's because the Suns have a youth movement, which means there's going to be games where we can run guys off the floor, not the entire game, but for moments at a time. And that's going to add another layer of grit and hustle and determination and desire to this Phoenix Suns team. That's what the San Antonio Spurs are. And so, you have them 8th. Did I hear you correctly?
Correct.
Yep, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm slotting them in as the 8th overall seed. I think that, yes, they're going to make that leap. Now, all this is contingent on Victor Wembanyama staying healthy, because if he doesn't get healthy, they're going to have that youth movement, but they're not going to be nearly as effective as defensively. Their young rookies aren't going to have the ability to gamble as much as they would if Victor Wembanyama was standing behind them, affecting the game in so many different ways. But I think the addition of Luke Cornett, I think the addition of Kelly Olynyk, allowing Victor Wembanyama to play more in the 4 and be a stretch 4, which is what he kind of wants to be, even at 7'7", is going to be something that's going to bode well for this team, again, if he stays healthy. All right, where do you want to go next?
Could we just hop over and look at the Houston Rockets?
Oh, you want to go Houston already?
Yeah,
okay, man.
City to city.
The
next door.
Houston Rockets, a team on FanDuel that is plus 1,100 to win the Western Conference. That's tied for the 3rd best in the Western Conference. They're tied with the Los Angeles Lakers, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Los Angeles Clippers. To say that they were busy this offseason would be an understatement. They added via free agency Isaiah Crawford, J.D. Davison, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Josh Okogie. They added via trade one Kevin Durant, Clint Capella, Mojave King. They lost in free agency N'Faly Dante and Jock Landale. They lost via trade David Roddy, former Sun, Cam Whitmore, and new Suns, Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green. Now, the graphic that I have up still has Fred VanVleet as the starting point guard. Obviously, since I created this graphic, he has been injured. He's out for the season. So take out Fred VanVleet. I'd probably put Amen Thompson potentially as their starting point guard, maybe Reed Shepherd, the number 3 overall pick in the 2024 NBA draft. You have Amen Thompson at the shooting guard. If Reed Shepherd is the starting point guard, you have Kevin Durant playing the small forward, Jabari Smith Jr. as the power forward, and Alperen Şengün as the starting center. This is a team that won 52 games last year and has $194.7 million payroll. Not an apron team. The Houston Rockets, Matthew. Let's talk about them.
Oh, let's do it. Let's see. So one ball, Şengün, Amen Thompson. Those two guys, are they going to get along with even Jabari Smith Jr.? They need the ball. Jabari Smith in the post. Obviously, Şengün could do so much at the top of the key. Amen Thompson is a guy that wants to just drive his nuts off all the way to the rim. Obviously, can't control the ball as well right now. We saw in the playoffs. But does he make the leap? Can he be a good ball handler? He might need to be. But all those guys need the ball. And I'm not saying it's like the big 3 last year with the Phoenix Suns, but I just don't see how Kevin Durant fits with this to where it's going to be cohesive. I do think that there might be some rumblings early in the season just about, I think we already heard something about Şengün. I don't know if it's true or not, but sometimes this stuff is true. But I feel like that guy needs to be handling the ball a lot more. Play through him. Kevin Durant might take that away from him. I still think this team's going to be great this year, obviously, because they're long. They're like the longest team in the NBA right now, maybe in the history of the NBA. So obviously it's going to equal wins. In the West, it's going to be tough. And will Kevin Durant lose his shit? I don't know. But overall, when you look at this team on paper, it is a perfect team. If you're trying to bet, if there is a trade for a point guard, or if there is a free agent point guard that a team can sign to kind of complete them to make them a championship, that was Fred VanVleet. Obviously with him gone, picking somebody up would help. I just don't know what this Houston Rockets team does with the ball because it's going to be a lot of guys that need it. But I still have them higher than the Suns in the standings. I wanted to kind of top them off, say the Suns beat them by one game this year. Wouldn't that be nice? Just by one game, just to stick it to them. But that doesn't work here in Phoenix. We don't do that stuff. So I'm going to go with the Houston Rockets at the 5th seed. I don't know. Where do you have them this year? They're the most intriguing team to me.
They are. They're definitely the most intriguing team. And the fact that Fred VanVleet isn't going to be present obviously really hurts their upside, in my opinion. That was my one observation. I thought that for the most part, they put together a team that, as you mentioned, unbelievably long, defensively minded. They have plenty of youth injected between Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., Alfred Şengün. I mean, this is a team on the upswing that, I mean, a big part of what we would state last year when we were having conversations about where could Kevin Durant potentially be traded, Houston said no, that they weren't going to do it. We thought it wouldn't make sense because this was a team that won 52 games last year, was the number 2 overall seed. Why would they try to blow up aspects of what they're doing and not just continue the youth movement like Phoenix should have done, but then they acquired Kevin Durant? The Houston Rockets just did what the Suns did 2.5 years ago. They had a great core youth movement. They just lost their soul, if you will. If anybody is on social media and they see Suns fans tweeting about Dylan Brooks, myself included, Rockets fans come in and are like, dude, for real, like, we're going to miss this guy because of what he does and what he means to this team on and off the court. They also lost their primary scorer in Jalen Green. Not a highly efficient scorer. Obviously, that's going to be an issue for him and something that we're going to monitor as Suns fans. But they lost 2 of their starting 5, technically 3 because Fred VanVleet's gone, for Kevin Durant. And so the upside of this team is something that I don't know what it's going to be, and I'm intrigued. Is there some pettiness to me? Absolutely. You don't want Kevin Durant to go on and win a title without you, and you're just like, if it just vindicates all the crap he was saying. And not even him, his stands, man. It's his stands that I can't stand. I don't mind Kevin Durant that bad. I really do, even though he was an asshole.
I hate him. Sorry.
I can't stand the stands, dude. Like, again, to be a sports fan with no consequence. That's what a stand is, because if your team wins, it's because you're a guy. And if your team loses, because you didn't do enough for your guy. So you're free of consequence. And I just don't understand that as a fan. Regardless, I think it's going to be a puzzle in Houston. I think that there's going to be some growing pains. I think that they're going to win games, as you mentioned, simply because they're going to be good at defense, simply because they're going to have some youth and some length, and they're going to be able to turn the opposing teams over. But to your point, and it's the point you started with, and it's the point I'm going to end with, there's only one ball. And with those young guys, they had a fluidity to them on offense that's going to be negated going into this upcoming season. So I don't think they're nearly going to be as high as a lot of people say. I kind of feel like I'm piggybacking you, but I had them 5 as well. A lot of people have them 3 or 4. Yeah, I think 5, and I think that's on the high end side. Like, half of me wants to be super petty and put them in at the 7th seed, but I already kind of have somebody else slotted to go there.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we're going to look back at the end of the season and we're going to either look at it one way. Either Kevin Durant, it was too much for him again. Just kind of take this on. And there is a lot of pressure on him. Can he do it? Can he not leak stuff out? If he can get through the season and stuff's not leaked about him being unhappy, that's great. And the other way is just this team is good. I don't think they're going to be a title contender, but they're good. It's a fun team to watch, but there's a chance that you can actually beat them in a 7-game series in the second round. I hope it's that way. So I'm rooting for Kevin Durant still, because before he was here, I was a big fan. Yeah, I'm still gonna love to watch him, but I'm not gonna want that team to win. Dude,
even watching the starting 5, like, I still like Kevin Durant, man. Like, there's an authenticity to him that is rare these days. But after experiencing him as a fan, like Brooklyn Nets fans before us, as they kind of warned us as it came, it's like, hey man, like, it's not all rose petals and unicorns. There's some layers to his greatness. He's a great player, but does he make those around him great? Will always be the dilemma that is Kevin Wayne Durant.
We're going to forget quickly about what he did here, just because when you do watch him, it's beautiful. I don't like him for what he did here, but we're going to forget, I feel like, pretty quickly.
I'm still waiting to see if on the starting 5 doc, there's him, like, right before he goes out and scores the 35,000th point. If it's him on his phone being like, fucking nobody knows who Matthew Lissy is. You guys are clowns. I'm like, dude, you have a game in an hour, bro.
I at that game? I feel like I was.
No, it was on the road. I think it was on the road.
No, because he hit the free throw, right? It was here. In
Oh,
Phoenix
that's right. Yeah,
against Memphis.
Booker was on the road. Booker was on the road for the big one. All right, well, let's knock this one out real quick. Glug. The New Orleans Pelicans. The good old New Orleans Pelicans. They did a lot this season, and I don't know if it fucking matters. 21-61 a season ago, 14th overall in the Western Conference, a salary cap of $190 million. They added in free agency Trey Alexander from the Denver Nuggets, Kevon Looney from the Golden State Warriors, and Bryce McGowan's from the Portland Trailblazers. They added via trade Jordan Poole and Sadiq Bey, both from the Washington Wizards. They gave up Kelly Olynyk and CJ McCollum in that trade. They also lost Bruce Brown, who's now with the Denver Nuggets, and Antonio Reeves, who's with the Charlotte Hornets. In the draft, they had the 7th overall pick, and they took Jeremiah Fears. God, where did he go to school? I don't remember. And then they made probably the most shocking move of the draft outside of the Brooklyn Nets drafting all 5 of their first-round picks. They took Derek Queen. They moved up to get Derek Queen from Atlanta, and then they traded a first-round pick this upcoming season to get him. So they were really high on Derek Queen. They also took Micah Peavy with the 40th overall pick. Their projected starting 5, you have Jordan Poole, you have Herb Jones, you got Trey Murphy, Zion Williamson looking ever so slim, and then Yves Missi might start. It might be Kevon Looney in New Orleans. This team, I feel bad for Pelicans fans because not only did they go and they get Derek Queen, who I wasn't really high on. Derek Queen was one of those names that was mentioned once the Suns traded Kevin Durant 4 days before the draft, and got the number 10 overall pick. We really started doing our scouting. I saw Derek Queen, and I'm like, dude, this guy looks like he goes to Dairy Queen a lot. I don't know if he necessarily is going to have that grind, that hustle, that mentality of what the Suns are trying to accomplish here. Thankfully, come on, Malawatch fell to the Suns. We didn't have to make that decision, or at least Brian Gregory and Matt Ishbia and Josh Bartlestein didn't have to make that decision. He falls a couple spots. The next thing you know, they trade up and they give up a first-round pick, an unprotected first-round pick to get him, and it didn't help their short-term or long-term viability as a team. It's a team that it seemed like just a couple seasons ago was exuding with talent, almost like Houston, young and had a ton of wings. It didn't work out due to injuries. Obviously, Brandon Ingram's now in Toronto, and they have skinny Zion. I mean, is there anything that you feel that the New Orleans Pelicans did to make them a better team this season, considering they were the 14th overall seed last year?
Yeah, it's one of those things too, like where you look back at the draft with Zion. John Morant was with him right after him, and I just got done talking about John Morant, how I'm kind of out on him, and I'm the same way with Zion. I know he's skinny now, looks good, seeing a few picks. Him playing, he's still skinny, bouncing around. The health is what everyone's going to talk about, but if he is healthy, that's fine. He's going to be great. But do you think he can come in one season healthy and just be the guy and make this team a playoff team? Like Luka obviously has done it being fat, right? He can come in and make this Lakers team a championship contender. But Zion hasn't done anything yet. We know the talent's there, but does he know how to win? This team on paper, I feel like looks good every year for the past 4 or 5 years. They really do. But until I see Zion actually play 14 out of 15 games or, 29 games out of 35 games this season, then yeah, we can talk. But that team, I don't think is going to be anywhere near like the 8th seed or the 9th seed this year. I just think they're going to be at the bottom of the West again. I like what they have. I do. But I just think it's going to take some time. Let Zion have a full year of strength. Then he can come back next season and really try to prove something again. But I have him at 14 with 29 wins this year.
Wow. Yeah, I have him slotted in at 13. So technically better because they were 14th last year. Mm-hmm. But it's a team that on FanDuel, they're plus 4,000 to just win the Southwest Division. Easily the worst team in the Southwest Division. And I agree with a lot of what you said. I think that Zion Williamson, it's a prove it year. It's a prove it year for the guy. He's coming in skinny. Cool. Let's see how long it lasts. Let's see how much of an impact he can have. Are they going to run some point forward lineups? I think that's a plausible outcome for this team because Jordan Poole just ain't it from a playmaking standpoint. So he could be out there running the 2, trying to score points. And it's a team that I think will have the ability to score points. And Zion Williamson will have those flashes of just insane athletic ability. But at the end of the day, defense matters, and I do not see this team with any defensive viability. All right.
Me neither.
Last team in the Southwest Division,
last.
The Dallas Mavericks. Well, it's interesting because you say best for last. They actually have the 3rd best odds to win the Southwest Division. The Rockets are minus 155. The San Antonio Spurs are plus 370. And the Dallas Mavericks are plus 600, Matthew. And they didn't do a ton this offseason. They didn't need to. After trading away Luka Doncic, the NBA gods smiled upon them and laughed at every other franchise by granting them the first overall pick, and they utilized that to take Cooper Flagg out of Duke. So he's added to the team. They added D'Angelo Russell via free agency. They lost in free agency Kessler Edwards and Spencer Dinwiddie, and didn't bring back Kai Jones. So a team that's a first apron team, 206.5 on the salary cap. I'm pretty sure they're hard cap there too. So not a lot of movement can they make. A team that ended 10th overall with a 39-43 record. Their projected starting five is D'Lo, Klay Thompson at the 2, Cooper Flagg at the 3, Anthony Davis at the 4, Derek Lively at the 5. Obviously, that'll change once Kyrie Irving comes back from his injury. Probably after the All-Star break, he'll slot in as the point guard. Sounds like you're a little bit excited to talk about the Dallas Mavericks, Matthew. So do me a favor, talk about the Dallas Mavericks.
All right, let me talk about them. But I just want to make this clear. I wasn't high on them after the Bill Simmons podcast, where he basically he basically spit out, jizz all over the computer when he was talking about. Sorry,
he was. He was really right. All about. He just loves Cooper Flagg.
He's really high. Yeah, and I do too. I really do too. I just love this team. The depth, the size, the defense, all that they have. They can stay healthy, obviously, with Anthony Davis. It's going to be one of those teams that you don't want to face just because they're going to swallow you up defensively. I'm going to enjoy watching this team. Luka's off of it. I'm a big Anthony Davis fan. I was going back through videos of, behind the scenes when the Lakers were in town, and it always came out. The team was what came out, and then Anthony Davis was always just kind of standing behind, just had his hands in his pocket, looking depressed, and then LeBron would come out just with the camera in his face running through the tunnel. They're so very separated. Anthony Davis is away from LeBron, all that mess. He can finally play basketball. He's a little pudgier. I think it looks cuter with the glasses. He looks great. It's a really good, honestly, a card that you can get. I feel like with him with the glasses and a little overweight, it's probably a top seller right now because I think he looks fantastic. This guy is going to be close to me. This is my projections, is maybe a top 5 MVP candidate this year. If he can stay healthy with that team. I have them slotted at number 2 this year. I think they're going to win a lot of games with Flagg. I think Flagg's really good. And again, I know I listen to Bill Simmons and he loves them this year. I've loved them 2 weeks prior to that. I've been really high on them. And I just think that they're going to be, I'm not going to say they're going to win a championship, but this season, I think they're going to be in the top 2 for sure.
Matthew has the Dallas Mavericks at number 2. I have them at number 7.
Woo!
I am on the other side of this coin. I think that Dallas does have talent. I think that Cooper Flagg is a dog. He's a competitor. He's one of those players who will be successful in the NBA not because he's an elite scorer, but because he does a lot of the little things right that help you win. I agree with all of that. But Kyrie Irving's hurt and old, and Anthony Davis can't stay healthy. And I think that those are huge factors. And we talked about it last year, right? The difference between the 3rd seed and the 8th seed was 2 games. That's the variance. And if that's the case, Dallas can't stay healthy enough to get a top 2 seed, a top 3 seed. I still have the 3rd and the 4th seed still available to slot in. I can't put them in there because I don't think that the health is going to happen. I think that they also are going to play Houston. They're going to play San Antonio multiple times because they're in the same division. So they play them, 4 or 5 times. They're playing in the Western Conference period. So I think that this is a team that is going to make a splash potentially in the playoffs because by the end of the season, they're just going to be trying to hold on, ripping it, trying to get to the end of the season, trying to be as healthy as possible. So when they hit that play-in, they can survive. But ultimately, I think that this is a team that ends with the 7th seed quite simply due to health issues and landing planes in their house.
What? Landing planes in their house? What happened?
Sounds like a jet going on behind.
Oh, is it still? Every time you say something,
what's funny?
What are you talking about?
Like your old house, it was motorcycles and fucking ambulances, and now it's like air conditioning units.
Well, I was telling my girlfriend that I think I just need to open a window, just not have it on, and I totally forgot to do that before this pod. So,
well, we'll correct that for maybe the Pacific Division. So,
yeah.
Any thoughts on what I said about them being a 7 seed?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. I think a lot of people are on your side. I think they think that they're going to be a playoff team, but they have too much injuries they're kind of worried about. Really not a whole kind of prove it atmosphere. I know the Luka thing. I think we kind of forgot about that now. Prove it, yes, but we kind of just expect this team not to be that great. And if they're not, then they're not. It's fine. Move on, because you still have Cooper Flag and you can build off of that. So that's fine.
Exactly.
So obviously they're going to be playing hard. I think because Cooper Flag's a maniac, I think this team's just going to be phenomenal. And I'm excited to watch them actually.
Suns
Sorry,
Fever
Suns
83.
fans.
He says, I was just thinking, is there a more punchable face or voice in sports than Bill Simmons? I've listened to Bill Simmons for like almost 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. I think I've just accepted kind of who and what he is, and I just carry on because
I never had issues with them, though.
I love the Over Under podcast too. Like,
I was going to get your thoughts on that. Did you like it with Zach Lowe now?
No.
And why is House even?
Well, no. So here's what I don't like. So Jams, just real quick. Matthew and I are going to go on a tangent. For those of you who listen to like the Ringer Podcast Network and Bill Simmons regularly and Ryan Russillo and the Zach Lowe Show, those are regular listens for both Matthew and myself. And so on the Over Unders podcast, which Bill Simmons does every year, he'll do the Western Conference, which I've gotten almost to the end. I'm literally on the Suns, and then I got super busy at work the last 6 minutes of that podcast, and then I haven't done the Eastern Conference. He has his buddy House on, and now Zach Lowe, because Zach Lowe is replacing Ryan Russillo. Ryan Russillo has done his final podcast with the Ringer Podcast Network. He's going over to Barstools. I believe November 3rd is when that begins, and I'm going to go right there with him because I love Ryan Russillo. The problem is you have Bill Simmons and his college buddy Daniel House, or whatever his name is. What is House's real name?
Joe House. Yeah.
Joe House. There you go. Joe
I thought
House.
you were right at first. Yeah, Joe House.
Yeah, Daniel House played for the Suns at one point. And they're two guys who've been doing it for a long time. And Zach Lowe is a maniac. Zach Lowe is an unbelievably introspective basketball voice that I highly value, and was kind of frustrated when ESPN let him go. And the fact that he's on the Ringer now is fantastic. It's like, I like listening to his NBA takes right along. Like him and Russillo would be a great podcast. Although I don't know if Russillo would get along with him. Russillo doesn't get along with a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I think that Zach Lowe was just annoyed because he's just like, you guys are like, it's like you're showing up to work and then you go to work with like two frat guys who are just like, it's like somebody coming onto our show with a really good basketball acumen, and you and I are making dick and fart jokes. It's kind of what it sounded like, and it kind of felt like he was annoyed with them because of that. Is that the feel that you got?
Yes, I was going to ask you. It was kind of cringy a little bit. I think I told you before. Actually, Ryan Russillo was leaving the Ringer. I was listening to like the last few podcasts before the playoffs ended, where they would have every Sunday night.
He's annoyed with Simmons.
He was annoyed with Simmons. You can tell, but it lasted for probably the whole postseason, because the year before that, you can kind of tell a little bit. There's something just about Bill Simmons doesn't click with these guys, because like you said, these guys like to be by themselves. Zach Lowe likes to do his own show, which is great. Ryan Russillo's own show is great, but you mix them with Bill Simmons, they just don't connect. It doesn't make sense. And you have Joe House in there, and it's just like you can tell the frustration where he's just like, "Oh shit, why the fuck am I here?" But then he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to pay $100 million a year."
Exactly.
Like, so he's fine with it, but Joe House, if he wasn't there, it'd be fine. I like Joe House, I do, but with those two guys, it doesn't make sense. If you can have Ryan Russillo with Zach Lowe and Ryan and Bill Simmons, I think that's a great pod.
Well, they had a couple of those. They had a couple of those during the finals last year. Those were good podcasts because Bill would try his kind of standard. I'm going to ask an over under on something, and then they'd be like, "Yeah, whatever, Bill," and they go back to talking basketball because like. Right now, it's almost to the point where Russillo will start making a point, and he's like, and Bill Simmons will be like, "What do you think the over/under is on steps up to Russillo's place?" Like he's got to put a metric to everything, so it just makes for it was kind of a cringy, uncomfortable listen. Okay,
it was. And even with Ryan Russillo, though, I think that Bill Simmons would always talk over him. They would be in the middle of making a point.
Big time.
About 50% of the pod, even the one with Zach Lowe, he talks over these guys constantly.
And he doesn't listen to what they're saying. He doesn't let
them finish. Yeah, he does not let them finish.
Yeah.
And I can't stand that. That's why I know everyone, Joe Rogan kind of started where he's a good podcaster only because he listens. Bill Simmons does not do that with those guys. And that's what irritates me the most. And you can feel the frustration between Zach Lowe. I just don't, how long is that going to last? It's kind of weird. I think Ryan Russillo didn't want to be there and be in person. I think because now they're on Netflix.
Yeah.
I think he's just like, no, I live here and I just want to do it online.
I want to do my thing. And, good for him. He's got a fan in me. So, and hopefully you have a fan in us here at the Suns Jam Session podcast. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap up the Southwest preview. Again, make sure that you tune in on Saturday night. Matthew and I will be coming to you live talking about the Pacific Division. Monday will be the Jammies, and then the first post-game podcast of the year is going down next Wednesday. So again, make sure you subscribe, make sure you rate, make sure you review, make sure you tell your friends. You know, we appreciate it. Word of mouth always works. But until then, Matthew, tell them what to do.
Go home, love your family, everybody.
Hey, you're listening to the Suns Jam Session podcast, shooting the shit about the Suns since 2019.